Joemma Larvin thought she was living the dream. Former glamour model, luxury lifestyle, business class flights to Dubai. She believed she was helping embassy staff transport diplomatic funds, earning thousands for prestigious, legitimate work. She had no idea every trip made her part of Britain's most sophisticated money laundering operation. An operation that moved over £110 million in criminal cash, recruited dozens of unwitting couriers, and connected directly to one of Europe's most dangerous crime syndicates, the Kinahan Cartel. This isn't just another crime story. This is how ordinary British people became international money mules without ever knowing they were committing serious crimes. What you're about to hear has been verified through court documents, National Crime Agency investigations, and first-hand testimonies. This is how ordinary British people, models, influencers, everyday citizens, became unwitting money mules in a criminal network spanning London to Dubai and Zimbabwe. Subscribe to Crime Scene Chronicles for investigative content that follows the paper trail international criminals don't want you to see. We analyze court documents, trace money laundering networks, and expose how modern crime actually operates. Recent coverage focused on the £110 million scale. But we're diving deeper into the human story. How intelligent, successful people were systematically deceived into believing they were doing diplomatic work, only to discover they were smuggling millions for Europe's most dangerous criminals. We'll explore exactly how this network operated, the psychological techniques used to recruit accomplices, and why this case represents a fundamental shift in modern organized crime. We'll also reveal recent 2025 developments showing the full extent of wealth these criminals accumulated. By the end, you'll understand why investigators called this one of the most sophisticated money laundering operations we've ever encountered. To understand how this network succeeded, you need to understand their recruitment strategy. They didn't target obvious criminals or desperate people. They targeted success. Take Joemma Larvin, born November 12, 1978, former glamour model with successful social media presence showcasing enviable lifestyle. She dated boxer Joe Calzaghe, appeared in magazines, had Instagram presence suggesting international travel and luxury were normal. But Joemma wasn't chosen randomly. The criminal network developed sophisticated profiles of ideal couriers. They targeted people with established social media showing international travel, lifestyle that wouldn't raise suspicions about sudden wealth, credible reasons for carrying large cash amounts, and most importantly, people who valued their reputation and legitimacy. This targeting wasn't accidental. If you're moving millions, you don't want desperate people who might panic. You want successful, reliable people with everything to lose, people who follow instructions precisely because they believe they are protecting their legitimate reputation. Here's where the operation became diabolically clever. Rather than approaching people with obviously criminal proposals, they created elaborate cover stories that seemed legitimate, prestigious, and important. Potential couriers were approached through WhatsApp groups with innocent names like Sunshine and Lollipops. Initial contact was professional, respectful, completely plausible. They were told they'd help diplomatic staff transport funds that couldn't go through normal banking channels due to international sanctions, regulatory requirements, and complex diplomatic financial arrangements between UK and UAE. This wasn't hastily created fake story. They provided legitimate-looking documentation from Omnivest Gold Trading LLC, and here's the crucial detail, this was an actual registered company in Dubai with real business operations. Documents looked authentic. The genius was telling couriers to declare the money at customs, be completely transparent with authorities. They weren't asking anyone to hide anything or break laws. From the courier's perspective, this was the opposite of criminal behavior, official, documented, legitimate business. Payment structure was carefully calculated to seem reasonable rather than suspiciously generous. Couriers earned £3,000 to £8,000 per trip, good money for a day's work, but not so much it would raise red flags. They traveled business class to Dubai, stayed in good hotels, treated like valued professional contractors rather than criminal accomplices. The entire experience reinforced legitimacy and importance of their work. For someone like Joemma, this wasn't just easy money, it was validation. She was trusted with important diplomatic work, treated with respect by serious business professionals, paid well for valuable service. Court testimony shows Joemma genuinely believed she worked for embassy staff facilitating legitimate diplomatic financial transfers. She had no reason to suspect otherwise, and every interaction reinforced this belief. Court records show several couriers asked detailed questions about legality. They were given comprehensive explanations about diplomatic financial procedures, international banking regulations, legitimate reasons such transfers couldn't go through normal channels. The network had prepared answers for every possible question, creating completely convincing alternate reality where everything was not just legal, but important work serving British diplomatic interests. Like and subscribe to Crime Scene Chronicles if this analysis helps you recognize sophisticated scams. Share this video to protect someone from becoming an unwitting money mule. At the center was Abdullah Mohammed Ali bin Bayat al-Falaisi, born July 7, 1975, Emirati national living in luxury in Dubai's exclusive areas. From Villa number 31 in Dubai, al-Falaisi orchestrated what the National Crime Agency called one of the most sophisticated money laundering operations they'd encountered. But al-Falaisi wasn't street-level criminal. He was experienced operator with legitimate business interests providing perfect cover. Using legitimate company Omnivest Gold Trading LLC, al-Falaisi created perfect cover. His business actually dealt in international gold trading, making large cash transactions seem reasonable to customs and banking authorities. The business had real clients, real transactions, real commercial purpose. Al-Falaisi wasn't just moving money, he was a sophisticated link between British street-level drug dealers and international organized crime syndicates. His network would ultimately connect directly to the notorious Kinahan Cartel, one of Europe's most powerful and dangerous criminal organizations. The Kinahan Cartel, led by Christy Kinahan Sr. and son Daniel, generated over $1 billion from drug trafficking, arms dealing, money laundering across Europe. The US government placed $15 million bounties on Kinahan leadership. Finding their money connected to this British operation was major breakthrough for international law enforcement. Here's how the operation worked on London's ground. Criminal cash from drug deals across London, Birmingham, Leeds was collected and transported to temporary counting houses, professionally rented central London apartments serving as sophisticated cash processing centers. Inside these apartments, teams counted, sorted, processed enormous cash volumes using professional banking equipment. Cash was then vacuum-packed using commercial-grade machines, same equipment legitimate businesses use for food preservation and industrial packaging. Here's the detail demonstrating sophistication. They sprayed vacuum-packed bundles with coffee extract or commercial air fresheners before sealing in multiple plastic layers. This wasn't random. Drug detection dogs identify chemical signatures of narcotics contaminating drug money. Different drugs leave different chemical traces, remaining detectable even after multiple handling. Coffee and air freshener were specifically selected because their strong, legitimate scents would mask narcotic contamination detection dogs are trained to identify. Each courier suitcase held up to £500,000 in vacuum-packed cash, carefully distributed to maintain normal weight distribution and avoid suspicion during baggage handling. Money was packed with legitimate items, clothes, personal effects, business documents, creating normal appearance if opened for inspection. Couriers received official Omnivest documentation, detailed customs declaration instructions, and Dubai handler contact information. They were told exactly what to say if questioned, how to present documentation, who to contact if problems arose. Once in Dubai, money was collected by al-Falaisi's network and began next phase of remarkably sophisticated international laundering operation. But cash wasn't staying in Dubai. That was first step in complex journey designed to completely obscure criminal origins. Collected cash was transported to Zimbabwe and South Africa, where it purchased artisan gold directly from small-scale miners. This wasn't random, carefully constructed system exploiting weaknesses in international precious metals tracking. In Zimbabwe and South Africa, small-scale gold mining operates largely outside formal banking systems. Miners are often paid cash for gold, and transactions aren't tracked through international banking systems. This created perfect environment for laundering large criminal cash volumes. Here's where this becomes truly sophisticated. Purchased gold was shipped back to Dubai, professionally recast and refined to remove identifying markers. Once refined, this gold entered legitimate international bullion market as clean, untraceable precious metal. By the time that gold appears in London, New York, or Tokyo markets, there's absolutely no way to trace it back to British drug dealers or Irish crime syndicates. Money has been completely laundered through legitimate precious metals trading. But the network wasn't just using traditional precious metals laundering. Investigators discovered heavy cryptocurrency investment, adding another complexity layer. Cash portions were converted to Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, traded through multiple international exchanges before converting back to traditional currencies. According to investigations, Alpha Lacy's network took approximately 10% cut of everything moved. With over £110 million processed, they personally netted more than £11 million from this operation alone, and investigators believe this was just one of several similar simultaneous operations. Every criminal operation eventually encounters weakness leading to downfall. For this network, that weakness came as 31-year-old Tara Hanlon from Leeds, courier whose arrest would bring down the entire operation. On October 3, 2020, Tara Hanlon arrived at Heathrow Terminal 5 carrying what would prove the network's undoing, £1.9 million in vacuum-packed cash across multiple suitcases. For nearly 2 years, dozens of couriers made this journey without incident. The operation ran smoothly, with couriers successfully transporting money on 83 separate flights. But this day, something went differently. Carrying large international cash amounts isn't automatically illegal if you can prove legitimate source and declare properly to customs. Many legitimate businesses regularly transport substantial cash for perfectly legal reasons. But when Tara Hanlon was selected for additional screening and officers opened her suitcases finding nearly £2 million in vacuum-packed bundles, inconsistencies in her story and documentation began appearing under detailed scrutiny. The sheer cash volume, combined with questions about business purpose and destination, triggered immediate investigation. Customs officers examined her documentation, verified business credentials, checked travel history. What they discovered was multiple Dubai trips pattern, always carrying large cash amounts, always with similar documentation from the same Dubai company. This pattern, combined with explanation discrepancies, led to her detention and £1.9 million seizure. This single arrest triggered one of the National Crime Agency's largest, most complex money laundering investigations. What they discovered analyzing Tara Hanlon's arrest was staggering in scope and sophistication. Over the previous 11 months alone, they identified at least 36 different couriers making 83 separate UK-Dubai flights, collectively transporting £93 to £110 million in criminal cash. But this was just the beginning. Investigators gained access to WhatsApp groups coordinating the operation. These communications revealed detailed conversations about flight schedules, payment arrangements, courier instructions, and most damaging, direct communications between network leadership and senior Kinahan cartel figures. The Kinahan connection transformed this from significant money laundering case into major international organized crime investigation. The Kinahans aren't just another criminal group, they're one of Europe's most powerful, dangerous criminal organizations with operations spanning multiple continents. Led by Christy Kinahan Sr. and son Daniel, the cartel generated over $1 billion from drug trafficking, arms dealing, money laundering. They've been linked to numerous murders, major drug importations, sophisticated financial crimes across Europe. The US government designated the Kinahan cartel as significant transnational criminal organization and placed $15 million bounties on leadership. Finding their money directly connected to this British operation provided international law enforcement crucial intelligence about cartel financial operations. The investigation also revealed full extent of African gold laundering route. Working with Zimbabwe and South Africa authorities, investigators traced how British drug money converted into African gold, then sold into international markets, creating clean, untraceable funds. Once investigators understood full operation scope, arrests began rapidly. First major target was Al-Falesai himself, arrested December 2021 during what he thought was routine London business visit. He was picked up at luxury Belgravia flat, one of London's most exclusive neighbourhoods, during business meetings he believed completely legitimate. The arrest came as complete shock. Al-Falesai had no idea his network was compromised. Facing overwhelming evidence including detailed financial records, communication intercepts, and multiple courier testimony, Al-Falesai made crucial decision. Rather than fight charges and risk much longer sentence, he chose to plead guilty. On June 27, 2022, Al-Falesai pleaded guilty to money laundering charges at Isleworth Crown Court. Just over a month later, July 28, 2022, he was sentenced to 9 years 7 months prison, one of the longest UK money laundering sentences ever imposed. But legal proceedings didn't end with imprisonment. In May 2025, just months ago, Al-Falesai was ordered to pay additional £2.543 million in proceeds of Crime Act confiscation orders. This money represents remaining traceable assets investigators could definitively link to criminal activity. What's particularly significant is Al-Falesai paid this confiscation order immediately and in full. This suggests despite years of investigation, extensive asset seizure, and detailed financial scrutiny, he still had access to substantial hidden wealth, likely millions more than authorities have traced. Couriers faced varying sentences based on involvement level, knowledge, and cooperation. Tara Hanlon, whose arrest triggered the entire investigation, received 34 months prison. Joemma Larvin received 24-month sentence, suspended for 24 months, plus 200 hours unpaid work, reflecting court recognition she had been genuinely deceived about her activity's nature. However, investigation remains active. At least one courier, Michelle Clark, former Sky employee, remains at large in Dubai. International arrest warrants have been issued, and authorities continue pursuing additional suspects and assets connected to the network. While it's easy to focus on impressive scale and sophisticated methods, we cannot forget profound human cost. These weren't career criminals who knew exactly what they were getting into. They were ordinary people genuinely believing they were doing legitimate, even important work. Joemma Larvin's defense presented compelling evidence she genuinely believed she helped embassy staff facilitate legitimate diplomatic financial transfers. Court records show she was shocked and devastated discovering the true nature of her involvement. Think about psychological and social impact of this revelation. These people discovered their legitimate diplomatic work was actually smuggling money for Europe's most dangerous criminals. Everything they thought they knew about recent activities was revealed as elaborate lie. For people who built identity and social media presence around success, legitimacy, and international business connections, this revelation was psychologically devastating. Their lifestyle, sense of self, public image, all suddenly tainted by unknowing involvement in serious organized crime. Several couriers reported receiving death threats from unknown sources, presumably connected to the criminal network they unknowingly served. They found themselves caught between law enforcement investigation and potential retaliation from criminals they never intended to work for. The case highlights disturbing reality about modern organized crime. Sophisticated criminals can destroy innocent lives without those people ever realizing they're being victimized until too late. The couriers weren't just unwitting accomplices. In many ways, they were victims of elaborate, long-term fraud. Investigation into this network continues, revealing new connections and methods reshaping how law enforcement understands modern money laundering. The case has strengthened UK, UAE, and African cooperation, leading to new protocols for monitoring suspicious financial movements. There's increasing pressure on Dubai's financial sector to enhance oversight and implement more rigorous controls preventing similar operations. The UAE has introduced new regulations specifically addressing methods used by Alpha Lacy's network. But most importantly, this case reveals how traditional organized crime has evolved. This wasn't stereotypical image of criminals in dark alleys or abandoned warehouses. This was sophisticated international business operation that exploited legitimate systems, deceived intelligent people, and operated across multiple jurisdictions with apparent ease. The techniques they used, recruitment methods, legitimacy tactics, international money laundering routes, represent blueprint other criminal organizations are undoubtedly studying and adapting for their own operations. Law enforcement agencies are developing new training programs helping officers identify these sophisticated deception operations. They're also working with social media companies and financial institutions developing better methods for detecting and disrupting similar networks before they can operate at this scale. What can ordinary people learn from this extraordinary case to protect themselves from similar deception? First, be extremely skeptical of any opportunity involving transporting large international cash amounts, regardless of how legitimate it appears or how official documentation looks. Legitimate diplomatic and business operations rarely require private individuals transporting cash across borders. Second, always independently verify any business opportunity through official channels. If someone claims to represent embassy staff or diplomatic services, contact the embassy directly through official government website phone numbers, not numbers provided by people making the offer. Third, if opportunity seems too good to be true or involves unusually high payments for relatively simple work, seek independent legal advice before proceeding. The £3,000 to £8,000 payments offered to couriers should have been warning signs something unusual was happening. Finally, be aware sophisticated criminals actively monitor social media identifying potential targets. If your social media suggests international travel, luxury lifestyle, or business connections, you may be more likely targeted by similar operations. The most disturbing lesson from this case is that the line between victim and criminal participant can be frighteningly thin when sophisticated criminals invest enough effort in creating convincing deception operations. This case represents far more than just another money laundering operation. It reveals fundamental changes in how modern organized crime operates and how easily ordinary people can become unwittingly involved in serious criminal activity. First, modern organized crime is far more sophisticated, professional, and convincing than most people realize. This operation involved legitimate businesses, professional documentation, international logistics, and psychological manipulation techniques impressive in any legitimate industry. Second, globalization of criminal networks means drug deal on Manchester Street corner can directly fund criminal operations across 3 continents within weeks. Money laundering techniques pioneered by this network connect British criminals to Irish cartels, Emirati money launderers, African gold miners, and international cryptocurrency markets. Third, social media and digital technology have become powerful criminal recruitment tools. The very success and legitimacy people showcase online can make them attractive targets for sophisticated criminal operations. The immediate investigation results, prison sentences, asset confiscation, network disruption, represent significant law enforcement successes. But broader implications suggest similar operations are likely already being planned or executed by other criminal networks who studied these methods. Perhaps most concerning is how psychological techniques used to recruit these couriers, appeals to legitimacy, prestige, and financial opportunity, could be adapted to exploit people in many other contexts. The methods work because they exploit fundamental human desires for success, recognition, and financial security. While this particular network has been dismantled and leadership imprisoned, the case serves as stark reminder that modern organized crime operates far differently than most people imagine. The criminals weren't obvious villains. They presented themselves as successful business people offering legitimate opportunities. The investigation continues, with authorities pursuing additional suspects, hidden assets, and related criminal networks. Intelligence gathered from this case is being used to identify and disrupt similar operations before they reach this scale. The story of Alpha Laci's network isn't just about money laundering or organized crime, it's about how easily good people can be deceived when criminals invest enough effort in creating convincing alternate realities. It's a reminder that in our interconnected, digital world, we all need to be more vigilant about protecting ourselves from sophisticated deception. Subscribe for investigative analysis of criminal networks. Like if this exposed techniques you didn't know existed. Share to protect others from sophisticated deception. Understanding these methods is our best defense against becoming unwitting participants in operations we never intended to join.